everyone, this is Cameron Carey, the owner and correctional exercise specialist at Profit Private Training. This video that I'm embarking on is primarily aimed at the kitesurfing community in association with Ocean to Air and Rob Crystal. I put together a couple of features that I thought might be quite helpful for the kite surfers around. Now, kitesurfing, as we know, it's a great activity, but it does come with the element of risk like any sport. So when it comes to your movement prep prior to kiting, what should you be doing? Well, this hopefully is just an overall view as to exactly what to look at. I'm going to try to dive into the entire structure to give you some indication as to exactly what you can be focusing on in order to try and loosen up a lot of structures pertaining to kiting that you're going to utilize a lot. Remember, if you're going into a sport with tight tissues, something's going to happen. And then as a result, when you have tight tissues that can't perform their role, you have other role players, other muscles specifically, that have to compensate as a result. So if we take into account the body, let's get going with some good movements. This is typically what you do as a movement prep before kiting. Okay, so now you don't have a lot of equipment around. You've just got yourself on the floor, which is cool. You start off now with some movement through the spine and the shoulder blades. So a set of about 20. You want to immediately go into a cat-cow. So you actually round the back and you extend your spine. You round your back and then you extend your spine. Okay, so now by doing this now, I'm trying to now expose and create more pliability through my spine, which more often than not, we don't have. When our spine is quite rigid, okay, we actually have a ton of issues surrounding areas away from the spine. So namely, the core doesn't engage well, the shoulders don't work. So this movement is essential. So you hit about a set of 20. Straight after that, then you'd move onto a scapular roll. So you try now, effectively, I can show you, I drop into my shoulder blade. So that's movement one. You've got to try and master this shoulder blade movement. I'm pushing my chin back towards the ceiling as I'm achieving this press through my shoulder blades. You'll notice my elbows aren't bending. So I want to keep my elbows dead straight. Now I start to circle those areas. All right, so this is just all upper body and shoulder girdle area. Okay, this is essential with regards to trying to capture movement through the shoulder girdle and also release a lot of that tight tissue that surround the shoulder blades. When you have areas that are adhesive and tight, your shoulders can't perform well, and you spread yourself under a kite and you've got your arms at all different angles, it's not going to help. So out of that position, you then go into a kneeling angle. So kneeling upright, hands behind the head. Don't interlock your hands specifically. Just place the hands at the back of the head. And then from this position, you peel your elbows back and then you squeeze your elbows forward. So what you're trying to do here, it's called retraction and protraction of the shoulder blade. You're now trying to push your shoulder blades open. So I'm actually punching my elbows forward towards you, okay, if I'm actually kneeling directly towards you. And then I squeeze my shoulder blades back. The whole time I'm having to push my chin back into my fingers to now open up the pecs, squeeze right into my mid-back, bring it forward, right there. So I'm rounding my back and pressing my shoulder blades forward towards you and then rounding that open. Now, what has that all done? That's got a little bit of movement through the spine and open up the shoulder girdle as well at the same time, okay? Outside of that, now we move on to the floor scorpion position. So now if I show you now, if I'm lying now with my arms out to the side, directly out to the side, I now take one leg, I peel that leg across, and I take it right across. Now you're going to find obviously the range limiter is going to be in the hip flexors here. So that's going to be one range. Bring it back again, drop the leg down. These movements you want to do quite slowly, not fast. As I lift up, I peel across, take it to the other side, find my end range, bring it back down again. Okay, I do about a set of 16 of those. So it's 8 on each side. All right, now, straight out of that, you then want to move on to the hip flexors. So can they be quite tight if we're desk bound for most of the day? Absolutely. So you want to now drop into the hip flexors, squeeze this glute, let the pelvis drift forward without arching the back. Then, once you find a decent stretch across the front of the hip, you reach this arm up quite tall, which will accentuate the hip flexor stretch into that area. Okay, so you hold that in place. If you want to get a little bit more around the lateral hip, okay, we turn our foot out. Okay, and then we squeeze my glute, and now I can feel it on the side of the hip. If that is really tight, we want to open that up. Okay, that's a muscle called your TFL. So now again, what would I do? I'd reach up, but then in this instance, I'd turn slightly to the side, and I'd rotate it, open up. And I hold that for about 30 seconds or so. Okay, so you've got the hip flexor, and if you want to challenge the inside of the hip, obviously then you turn your foot out and you lean away from that hip. That's going to open up that muscle, that TFL area. Now that TFL area, tensor fasciolata, attaches onto the IT band. So what happens is this guy becomes overly facilitated because a lot of weakness in the side of the hip. This guy's always tight. That's how we get IT band issues. Quite common, all right? So from there, now we move on to a little bit of floor components, okay? So this is just an overall body technique to open up the body for kiting. Now, we want to now look for a little bit more internal rotation, dealing with the hips, okay? So we're going to now, first off, rotate the knees back and forth. Okay, so you see I open up my legs, I bring my feet up towards my butt, slide the arms up a little bit higher, just above shoulder height. That's going to give you possibly a little bit of opening across the chest, whilst just passively getting movement through our hips. All right, once we've got that now, okay, now we go into some internal, external rotation. Now here's the trick now. This is quite tricky, so I'll show you the slight angle so you can see. So now I cross my left leg over my right, I bring my knee in, all right, from that position, I now take this left hand, my right arm on the floor at about 45-degree angles, this hand is down, I peel this knee across, right down, and I'm going to open up across the hip, and possibly I'm going to feel, if there's any tight tissue, I'm going to feel it along this lateral line. I use this hand on the floor to assist my return back. So I take it down, I don't push through that, I just find my end range every single time. Find your end range. Okay, breathing into that, right there. Right, other side, you do about 15 on each side, cross that leg over, bring this knee in, okay? Now, take the left arm up. If my right leg's crossed, my left arm is at 45 degree, okay? Now from there, I peel it across and use my right hand here to now assist my return back. There. If this arm does come up off the floor, don't worry about it. Not a problem at all. Okay, so you just breathe into that each time, about a set of 15. Now, okay, now for some passive lumbar rotations. I'm going to start with one leg up at 90 degrees. The opposing leg is dropped down flat. My one hand is going to be on my knee. So this instance, right hand's over left knee, left arm onto the floor. Now, this passive lumbar rotation is just looking for some good rotation over the hip. Okay, so stretching out a lot of the rotators of the hip joint. Okay, we've actually got rotator cuff muscles of our hip, which we don't realize. And then breathing into that, returning back. This you do about a set of 12 on each side. Okay, 12 on each side, right there. And then you change sides, right leg up, opposing arm out, and just get some good rotation through that as well. Right there. Okay, so you breathe into that. The head doesn't move. Find the end range that's tolerable. And also, if this arm does lift off the floor, just relax it entirely. Don't force it down through that position. Now to expose a bit of external rotation through the hip, we cross the right leg over left, arms out to the side. But now what I'd suggest now is if we're rotating to the left, put that left hand down, place the right arm up, and now just allow for that rotation that way. This one, guys, exposes the hip now to more external rotation. Earlier, we did internal rotation. So now that's just going to peel around, just a more route directly around the hips joint itself. If there's any lower back pain when doing this, you don't do it. Now breathe into that position. All right, there we go. That just hit about a set of 15, and then change sides. Left leg on top, left arm out. This is where we open up the knee. You'll notice, remember, for that internal rotation, it was the opposite direction. Now from here, we rotate over. Let that foot travel towards the floor. Push down with the opposite hand just to assist the return back each time. Okay. Now for 15. So now we move on to the quads. To open up the quads, we expect a lot of work out of these guys when on a kiteboard. So now with the hands supporting the head, you're going to bend your bottom leg up to 90 degrees. You're going to grab hold of the ankle. Now if you don't have enough range of the knee to grab hold of the ankle, by all means grab a towel and place that behind the foot and hook that behind you. So you actually fulcrum it over the shoulder. So bend that leg there and pull that heel back towards the butt. Allow this knee to travel back so you start to feel quite a nice quad stretch in place. You hold that period for about 45 seconds at least on each side. Same would occur for the other side. You'd switch over, roll onto the right side, elevate that bottom leg up, and then you do exactly the same there. All right, now, out of that position, we want to get into the hamstrings. The hamstrings, very importantly, do not like to be stretched. So we want to get dynamic movement through it. So we interlock our hands behind one knee, just below the knee. Other leg is on the floor. Now I'm going to bend and I'm going to extend my leg. But what I am going to do, as I extend my leg, I'm pointing my toe towards the ceiling, so I don't want to tense up any nerves. And then I arch my back at the same time. So I'm trying to curl my tailbone down into the floor. As I extend, bang, there it is. So I'm lengthening the origin and insertion point of the hamstring. That's really what mobilizing it is all about. Once you get to the top, you may have a bit of Parkinson's at the top. Don't stress. Perfectly normal. Just keep that knee above the pelvis. This you hit for about a set of 20 on each side. Opposing leg, exactly the same. Set of 20. I'm much tighter on this side. I can't get that range. Arch the back and breathe into those ranges each time. Okay, now for the mid-back work. This is essential. 30% of our spinal rotation is supposed to come from our mid-back. If you think of yourself on a kiteboarding board, you're turning through your spine. So especially if you're going toe side and things like that, you need to have more spinal movement at those joints. So open book technique. This is going to involve legs up at 90 degrees, lying on my side, support my head with my left hand. Now take my right arm, I reach it forward, I turn, I open up, I drop the arm right down, and I drop my head and my rib cage down. If my arm doesn't touch the floor, that's fine. Now bring that arm over. So again, have a look. Reach the arm forward, and then from there, open up. As I open up, drop the head and the rib cage gently all the way down. Breathe into that. So this, you'd hit about a set of 12. Okay. Big rotation right over. Set of 12. Okay. You do the same on the opposite side. Now to get a little bit more movement through the shoulder girdle, we go into the windmill, supporting the head again. Slide the hand along the floor, all the way around, all the way around. Now if the arm here, you're going to get to a bit of a catching point here, where you feel like the shoulders might be a bit restricted. Don't force the arm through it. Let the arm just travel gently through that range and then return back. Slide the arm along the floor. Let the head and the rib cage slowly drop onto the floor. Bring it back and then bring it over again. All right, there you're looking also for about a set of 12 on each side. All right, now those type of things are essential with regards to trying to get a lot of movement, and you'll feel a huge amount of freedom with regards to the upper body. Now the lats. To finish off with, these guys are big internal rotators of the shoulder. They can cause a ton of shoulder issues, a ton of neck issues as well. So we want to stretch them out, but we do that also dynamically. So we drop into a child's pose. We open the knees out a bit wider, sink our pelvis back as far as it can go. Now in this instance, I'm going to go this way to show you. I'm going to walk around to the side with straight arms until I feel a stretch on the right side of the back. Then once I've got that stretch, I take this hand and I put it on top of my right hand, and I rotate down my right armpit now towards the floor. There, and I breathe in. That's it. So I'm just turning down to the mat and returning back to center. So if I just show you on the opposite side, reach forward, walk around until you feel the stretch on the side of the lat. Once you've got that, pin that hand down. This is my left side. I turn down to my left and I come back to center. Down to the left, back to center. About 20 rotations is effective. Guys, that's the type of movements that you can do with regards to movement prep. Obviously, when it comes to kiting, when would you do this? The best time to do this is at home. You can't do it at the beach. Once you get down there, it's too late. So these type of sequences are brilliant. You can break them up. You can do it all together. You can do one set of each. You can do 2 sets of each. Obviously, one set of each, you're probably looking at about maybe 7 to 8 minutes, which is really nothing. If you double it up and you do 2 sets, you're looking at about 15 minutes. But now that is just mobilizations with absolutely no equipment whatsoever. So I just thought I'd give that to you for the benefit of Ocean to Air, for the benefit of kite surfers and the community of Ocean to Air and all of Rob's community. I think it can be hugely beneficial. So hope you guys enjoy it and enjoy your kiting.